the more I connect with my higher self, so my higher self, another word is for the highest, your highest self, your oversoul. It's that deep connection deep in your heart. And so the more spiritual work I do, the simpler everything becomes. And so the more I start feeling like, okay, my higher self actually, when I'm communicating to my higher self is communicating with me. And they usually communicate with numbers, symbols, or just coincidences. One day I was walking downtown. It was a really busy street, and there was lots of people walking on the sidewalk, not just me. And all of a sudden, this Uber driver, he leaned out his arm and he said, "Hey, here's your Uber." I've taken an Uber before. They're super polite. They always have their windows up, and they're looking to see if you're the right person. And so what I heard my higher self say, "Don't look. Don't look at him." And I was like, okay, so I didn't. And I didn't respond. I just ignored him because there was lots of other people around. So I just ignored him. The light changed and he left. And then I was walking along. I crossed the street and I was walking along and I felt behind me. I'm always trying to see, okay, what does the energy feel like? Because as a seer, what does the energy feel like around me? And so I could feel this energy behind me, this person, and they're walking up kind of fast, coming, and this is during the day. They're walking up, and there's lots of other people on the sidewalk and the crosswalk. It wasn't just me. And I could feel somebody coming up from behind me, and I thought, okay, they have really good energy, is what I got as a seer. So that kind of multi-dimensional, being able to see, hear, feel, that kind of information. So communicating with my higher self. And then all of a sudden, it was a guy, and he cut right in front of me. And I was like, oh. And then he was right in front of me, and then he moved out of the way very quickly. So I didn't trip or anything. He kind of swept in really quickly, and then he moved away. And I thought, wow, that's interesting with the Uber driver. That was strange. And then my higher self was very clear, don't make eye contact. And I didn't. And then I also felt like this other person was coming up from behind me, but I felt they had good energy. That I knew just from my senses. And then he came in front of me and then kind of blocked. And then I looked up when he blocked me, and I could see there was another guy leaning up a pole, and he was like glaring at me. And then I heard my higher self again say, don't make eye contact. So the more I'm communicating with my higher self and I'm listening, my higher self, the voice has gotten louder and the messages have gotten very crystal clear. And so the more you're awakening your light body, the more you're also getting challenges by, it's not from the light, because the light is glad that you're like activating your light body, because it's something you have to choose on earth. And then also getting information from your higher self that's something that you need to choose, because earth is free will. And so in those moments I thought, okay, this is a challenge, in a way, a test, and a good test. A test to see, am I listening to my own higher self? Am I listening to my own intuition? And am I also putting myself first? Because usually if somebody is staring, they're really demanding your attention. And so normally I would have looked, and my higher self said, don't look. So I could see from the side view, but I didn't make face-to-face eye contact, and I kept moving away. And so the guy that had the really good energy kind of swept in what I saw as blocking so that I could receive the information from my higher self, and then he moved on and he disappeared into the crowd. And that's happened many, many times, but this is just a recent experience. And so the more I'm listening to my higher self, it does feel like the more I'm also with the world or with the universe, and that the helpers are appearing out of nowhere. And so it's actually less work in a way. So think of it that way. If you want less work in your life and you want your life to be easier, then listening to your higher self, listening to your heart, listening to the deep I in your heart, and listening to your inner body, and activating all your clairs, saying, yeah, I want to see, I want to hear, I want to feel, I want to smell, I want to taste, I want to activate all my senses, and getting information. And it's actually really amazing, because there are lots of different vibrations. And so the low vibration, I'd say, would be to not have very much light. So they would have like, the 1%ers have like 1% light. Well, that's like, if shame has 5% light, that's like barely any light. So if you are, have courage and you're asking questions and you're communicating with your higher self, that's courage, and that's 200 light bulbs. That's a lot of light. And then once you're communicating with your higher self is also communicating with you. And so I got to really feel what that feels like to be what I would call in the flow of the universe. So I'm communicating, I'm paying attention, but I'm also listening. And my higher self is now, I would say, much louder. So the directions are always very simple. And I do know that it is for my highest and best good. Especially for what I would say, if somebody is really kind of tracking you and watching you, even in the daylight, they're wanting to siphon energy, is how I see it. And the answer is no. You can just say no internally, no. Because actually, once you're drained from your energy, it's a lot to reactivate and get your energy back. So I used to go in the lows and the highs thinking, oh, well, it's not a big deal. If people want energy, it's not a big deal if I give them energy. And I've really learned the hard way. And I've learned some really, really good lessons about that. And so I don't play with my energy anymore. And if they're not asking, I'm not helping. And I'm not making, and if somebody is if a random person is wanting to get my attention and they're making that intense stare, no, I'm not interested at all. And I don't play that. I don't play those kind of games. So I'm very, very serious about that. And I do not play those kind of games. And things have shifted very quickly when, for me, I don't know, it's like a naivety or wanting to see the best in people. And that is without discernment. But now I feel with communicating with my higher self, that is the fast track to discernment. And so those are the kind of things that I do on a day-to-day basis when I'm just out and about in the world. And this might be true for you, something to think about or something to wonder about. But your higher self is always there to help you. And your higher self can only intervene if you ask. So we have to ask. Ask questions, ask for help, ask for healing. And your higher self is there. That's their main job, is to help you.